Enid Plainsmen Football 2015.
Hey, we're all putting gas on today.
Plainsmen Football, getting it done. Plainsmen Football, where preparation is repetition.
Ready to go.
Enid Plainsmen Football, we don't get tired. Plainsmen Football, effort, technique, and how we treat one another.
Those are the things we're going to be great at. When people look at video, they're going to see those three things.
Now, from the Enid Television Network studios, here's head coach Steve Hayes with Steve Kine.
Welcome to Plainsmen Football 2015. I'm Steve Kine with head coach Steve Hayes. And Coach, it's good to see you again. We said before the camera started rolling, weren't we just here?
Seems like we're just filming this back to back to back. We just do all the episodes at once.
We get up, go to the other room, come back, and do another show. It just goes so quick. And I'm sure when you have your coaches' meetings and you're on a bus going to a game or when you're coming home, you're thinking, weren't we just doing this?
No doubt.
So
yeah.
What is that? What is that experience? What do you call that?
I've heard it just means you're getting old. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, aging.
Sure feels like it. Yeah.
I think what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Plainsmen lose on their trip to Tahlequah in the eastern part of the state last Thursday night as a fall break game. Final score 44-21. My observations, real quick, Coach, is definitely the game was a lot closer than the score shows. If you take away the third quarter, it's very much a lot closer of a game. Seemed like on your first drive, you're going down, you have an opportunity to score, then you have a penalty, it sets you back a little bit. The field goal was blocked, and there was all these kind of, I'll just frame them as disappointments. That was the beginning of the first one throughout the game, and I know as a coach, as close as you are to your players, you would consider those definitely disappointments. Mm-hmm. However, 17-14 at the half. Mm-hmm. It's still a ball game. Mm-hmm. You're still in it. And but then there was this fumble in the end zone. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but that seemed to kind of kickstart something because Tahlequah came back with 21 points there in the third quarter. And our student athlete that was here last week, Devin Pratt, rushed, I believe, over 100 yards.
He did.
And one thing that I noticed, there were numerous, especially for the Plainsmen, there were numerous third and fourth down key conversions. Seemed like there were more in this game than there was all season long. Very impressive to have these third and fourth down conversions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my layman's interpretation and observation of the game. Your thoughts?
You know, I think offensively for us, it's been a really interesting year in that the number of 15, 16, 17, in this case, this last week, 18 and 19 play drives where we don't come away with points.
Yeah.
You know, that's very unusual. If you're able to snap the ball that many times without giving the ball over to the opponent, you know, almost always you at least walk away with 3 points. And so that's definitely one thing that has been disappointing is that we haven't gotten more points out of the number of offensive production that we've had. Seems like we should have more points based on how we're producing. You know, the whole sequence of events in the third quarter, I think, was really the turning point of the game. The kids had competed well at that point. We came out at halftime, and the defense had 2 really good stops to start the game, like 2 basically 3 and outs, and giving us a really good field position. That drive started around the 50-yard line. And then, I mean, just like we entered the twilight zone, we line up to kick a field goal, we get a penalty. It's too far to kick a field goal, so we go for it on fourth and actually convert a fourth and about 20.
Exactly.
And then, you know, it looks like Devin's rushed for another first down at the 1. He's an inch short. We don't make it on the sneak. Actually was fourth down. The officials give us a 5th down. We actually had 5 downs in that particular set. We make the first down. And then on that first down from the 6-inch line, we clearly get in the end zone. Clearly, they rule it down at the 1. And I mean, you watch the video, even in the game, it was incredible that they marked it down. I don't know if that was a makeup for giving us 5 downs in the previous 2. And then we fumble the next play. And that was the worst case scenario because if we turn the ball over and downs at the 1, they've got to drive 99 yards. But as now we fumble in the end zone, they get the ball in the 20.
And if you score, you go ahead.
We go ahead at that point, 21 to 17, which I think would have been huge for our morale.
Sure.
And boy, our kids went into a little bit of a mental funk for about 4 minutes. They drive 80 yards and score. We have a punt blocked because of an alignment. Give them a short field. They drive 20 yards and score, and then we fumble. and they drive 20 yards and score, and 4 minutes later, all of a sudden, we're not, instead of being ahead, we're behind by 4 scores. And so, really interesting turn of event. You're right, I don't think it reflects how well our kids competed and how good of a game it was, and really how close we were to being successful against a 5-1 good football team from Tahlequah.
Coach, can you just share with us what's going on the sidelines? Let's say during that 4-minute time period that you're talking about, where Tahlequah scores and scores and scores. What's going on the sidelines? I know as coaches, you're trying to stay focused and encourager and being an exhorter and everybody. Let's just keep playing our game. Is what else is going on? Is all coaches, all hands on deck, just getting everybody focused? Because I'm sure people in the stands are saying, this has got to be difficult to turn this around.
Yeah.
And these coaches are trying so hard to keep these kids focused.
I think as coaches, we have varying degrees of success as far as how good of a job we do in those moments. I mean, our job in those moments are to stay tuned into the game, to always be thinking about what's the best strategy for the next situation, what's the best player to be on the field. And I think you have to be careful to not let the emotion of the moment take you out of coaching well. I think that's more for the players. But those people that are leading on the sideline really need to continue to be plugged into the game circumstance and continue to compete to win. I mean, even at the point where they went down and drove 80 yards and scored, we were only behind by 9, had moved the ball very successfully all game long, and had 17 minutes left of game clock. We were still fine at that point as far as being able to compete and go win the game. I don't know that as a group for the next 3 or 4 minutes on the game clock we did. I think as a whole, I think as players, as coaches, as a whole sideline, we really had about a 4-minute gap there that cost us the ball game, which is unfortunate.
We'll talk later in the show on the You Make the Call segment about 4th down and going on 4th down. Coach, I know just the one that you referred to, the big 4th and 20 there in the first half of the game. What kind of excitement does that create for your entire team when you see just a huge play?
In that moment, we'd basically gotten the ball at the 11 going in with a first down after thinking we were going to get nothing out of that drive, with a chance to take the lead. I mean, truly just a big momentum shift for us. And Tahlequah did a good job of stopping us at the 1 and seizing that momentum back.
Plainsmen head football coach Steve Hayes is our guest here on Plainsmen Football 2015. Thank you for joining with us. I'd like to remind you that you're able to see the Plainsmen football on Channel 11 and 111 in high definition here on the Enid Television Network. You can also go to enidtv.org, and then we have all the shows stored on our website there. And of course, you can go to YouTube and you can just type in Plainsmen Football 2015, and it'll show all the different shows that the coach and I have done for the past, since August, I guess it was. Seemed like August was just last week. It's just amazing how quick this calendar is going. But I wanted to share the opportunity for you to see all the different student athletes and the coaches that Coach Hayes brings each week. And those are some of the key areas that you will see our coaches show, especially on television, Channel 11, and then you can see the coach in high definition on 111. So let's talk a little bit before our student athlete arrives. Coach, the positives, you saw these long drives and these 4th down conversions and 3rd down conversions. What other things that was just, on the positive side of the ball for you in that ball game with Tahlequah?
Well, obviously, with our 1-loss record, the season's been disappointing thus far. We were hoping to be in a better set of circumstances at this point. And I think the positive is how well our kids went out and competed against a good opponent, a team that's 5-1 and playing well and having a good year. And our kids played like they believe they could win, that they wanted to win, and that they cared and that it mattered. And I think that shows a lot of character because, I think it's easy to get discouraged at that point. And so I'm really proud of the kids and the way that they continue to compete, to work hard, and try to continually improve.
I know I've heard this statement that one of the easiest ways to feel defeated or whatever is compare yourself with someone else. But at the same time, if you compare other programs that are 5-1, that are 6-0, that are 4-2, if people will look at all that you've played, the teams you played this week, a lot of these teams are having tremendous amount of success, and you guys have been so close in so many games.
I agree.
And
Well, I think it's a great testament to a lot of times how small the difference is between a team that's 5-1 and a team that's 1-5. We saw that this last week. We're at 1-5 right now. They're at 5-1, and wow, you look at the two teams playing one another, and it was a close game. Either team could have won, and we had an opportunity to really kind of get after them there, and they responded.
So Tahlequah wins it 44-21, and we'll be back with our student athlete in just a moment with Inside the Huddle. Thank you for staying with us on Plainsmen Football 2015. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Plainsmen Football 2015. Coach Steve Hayes, I'm Steve Keim, and we're joined by Gavin Richmond. Gavin is a senior at Enid High School, and Inside the Huddle is this segment. And I tell you what, when Gavin is inside the huddle, that's a big huddle, Coach.
It is.
As my mom would say, boy, they grow those kids so big nowadays, you know what they say. Gavin, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here this morning. So you're a senior, and tell us a little bit. You have a favorite subject that you like to study?
It would have to be American history.
Good.
American history.
I'm a history person. This guy's got his act together, you know.
He does.
I like history. Why American history?
History has always fascinated me. It's one of those things that you question, like, when did this happen? Why did it happen? And why do we still pursue it to this very day? Okay. And we're still making history as it is.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we appreciate you being here on Plainsmen Football, especially Inside the Huddle. Speaking of Inside the Huddle, what are some conversations that take place inside the huddle during a game?
What is our next blocking assignment? What we have to do, and how we're going to get it done. And sometimes the quarterback will take blame for what happens, and he'll get down on himself, and it's our job to help him get himself back up.
Okay.
And if he can't do it himself, we do it for him.
Contrary to what people think, there's not a lot of time in the huddle.
There is.
You make the call, and you know your assignment, and you know what count's going to be, and you got to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like social hour in there or anything like that. So, Coach.
Well, Gavin, what do you feel like as an offensive line, we've improved on the most this year?
Aggressive. We've gotten a lot more aggressive with pushing the front and pushing the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree. You guys have played really well, especially in the last 3 to 4 weeks. Definitely been a bright spot of the offense. What is the thing that you enjoy most about being an offensive lineman? And the reason I ask is because a lot of times kids don't want to play offensive line. It's like seen as the position that you kind of get stuck in because you can't play anything else. And Gavin's one of those kids that he truly enjoys his work. And so, what do you like so much about being an offensive lineman?
Just lining up and knowing that I can beat the kid in front of me or the person in front of me, and helping not hold the ball but get the ball to where it needs to be in the touchdown. Maybe on the 1 yard line, anywhere.
I agree. A lot of Gavin Pratt's rushing yards are a direct tribute to Gavin and those other boys and how they've blocked well this year. And I'll say even better than run blocking, our pass protection the last couple of weeks has been exceptional. A great tribute to you guys. Where do you feel like we need to improve the most going in the next 3 weeks?
Picking off when we run the outside zone is picking up the backers on the outside, the 8 technique, and edging, getting the D end edged.
Okay, I got you. That's good. Maybe a lot of people don't understand that, but that's a specific blocking assignment.
Latin to most of
that's
us,
right. The specific blocking assignment. He said it correctly, and I agree with him. What are your goals for the next 3 weeks of the season as far as a player and as a team and being a captain on the team as well?
Pick up the atmosphere is what I'm focused on with the team and with the community.
Good. And kind of rally some support and some excitement. What do you plan on doing when you're finished with high school?
Going to college to continue football and major in dental hygiene.
And what are some of the colleges you're looking at for football right now?
Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Northwestern, and ECU.
Well, a lot of directions thrown out there, and I know they're all very interested in Gavin and have even offered, so we're excited about him getting to play at the next level as well, and we'll do really well.
Gavin, let me ask you this. What have you obtained from being on a team? It's that esprit de corps, I think they call it. It's the teamship. It's the going through good times and tough times with your fellow teammates. What have you grabbed from this experience in Plainsman football?
What I've grabbed from it is all you have is your team. You have no one else but the team and the coaches. And if you don't have that, you don't have a team.
Kind of like an extended family, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, you're concerned about the well-being of everybody else, and if somebody's not feeling so well or they're feeling so good, you want to find out why they are. Anything else that you take away? And the reason I ask is that someone's watching this program, Gavin, and they're considering, coming out for football. For whatever reason, they didn't this year. Maybe they just moved into the community, and they look at you and they hear how articulate you are and how focused you are, and they're thinking, maybe my son ought to be in part of Plainsman football. What word of encouragement could you offer someone who's watching that's considering playing football?
If you're going to come out, do it. You're not going to regret it. It'll be the funnest time you've ever had inside a locker room and outside on the field.
When I think back of high school football, the doom and gloom days to me was always the hot August two-a-days. I think I will always have those those thoughts of, oh man, two-a-days. But the ball games and the bus trips and the relationship with coaches and the mentors that they are last forever. And those, sometimes we lose sight of those. Sometimes we just think of the hot August too much. Yeah. But it's great to have those relationships. So, well, we appreciate you being here. What kind of schedule do you have at school today?
I have, what do I have second hour? I don't even remember.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but you got classes today. Yeah, you got history. Yeah. I got history 1, history 2, history 3. And then you got to weave in practice. How does that work? Being a student athlete, you got to keep your grades in place, and then the coach has expectations of you. So how does that work out?
It tests you. It pushes you to your limit to know what you actually can do. And if you can do it, everything becomes a lot easier and you start to coast.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you being here on Inside the Huddle. Gavin, wish you well.
Thank you.
We wish you well the rest of the season. And how much do you weigh, by the way?
270.
270. Okay, I didn't know. Okay, I was just curious. Coach, if he's blocking, I mean, I'll run the ball if he's blocking for me.
He's
okay.
a good one to run behind. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. We've got a lot of yards behind him.
Gavin Richmond is our student athlete of the week, and also for Inside the Huddle. Gavin, thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to come back with You Make the Call. We're going to talk with Coach Hayes about fourth down calls in just a few moments. Thank you for staying with us on Plainsman Football 2015. We'll be right back. Again, thank you for staying with us on Plainsman Football 2015. I'm Steve Keim, joined by head coach Steve Hayes. And Coach, we were talking a little bit a few moments ago about all the fourth down successes and the third down successes. And this segment's called You Make the Call, but you said you want to name it or rename it, What Were You Thinking segment. So welcome to What Were You Thinking segment in a game situation. Each week we take a game situation, we talk about onside kick, going for two, things of this nature, to get a perspective of what the coach is thinking about. Yeah. To me, long before fourth down that you're going for fourth down because you don't have a whole lot of time. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the vicinity of third down, you're already talking with coaches saying, hey, we better have a play for fourth down because I think we're going to go for it. Because you don't, that clock is just ticking. You don't have time, well, let's visit about this for a while. Yeah. So what else goes into this going for fourth down?
There is a lot. That's a big question. There's a lot of factors that go into it. One of the things that you may take into consideration is, how well is your defense playing? Because if you don't have a high probability of success on the defensive side of the ball, then you want to keep the ball on the offensive side of the ball. And so, there are times on fourth and short where I felt like, the risk of getting a first down was equaled out by the risk of giving the ball back to the offense because they were being so successful in that night that we were more likely to go for it in that case. Now, a lot of it has to do with the probability of whether or not you think you can actually make it in that situation. The other night we went for it on fourth down after the penalty because in my mind we had moved outside of what was reasonable field goal range. It was too close to punt. Even though it was 4th and 20, it still would have, we got 20 yards and we ended up being on the 11-yard line. And so, not necessarily going to have bad field position if we don't make it. Even if we'd gotten 10 yards instead of the 20, they're still going from their 20-yard line, which a punt would not have netted much more. And so,
it's one of those process of elimination.
That's
okay,
right.
We're not going to be able to kick it through the uprights. It's too close for punt.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's 4th and 20, but we're still going for it. And I think you're relying on the running game. You're moving the ball. You're throwing the ball.
You bet.
And so we're thinking, well, let's pull this off. We can do this.
We were having success on offense at that time, and so there's a reasonable chance that we were going to have a positive play. And so, it worked out for us. We actually got the first down. If we'd have just gained 10 yards, I still think it would have been positive in that sense.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the insightful things because I know when people are watching the show, they're thinking as they watch a college game or a professional game, they'll be thinking, well, Coach Hayes said about on fourth down, you think this, this, and this, and so people will be, recalling that conversation. And then when you see on a pro game, they're going for fourth down, I said, well, will the defense hold them, and all these other things will come back. So, Coach, when somebody comes up to you and says, what were you thinking, they're going to be referring to the coach's show, okay? They're not going to be saying, what were you thinking? They're going to talk about, what were you thinking in the coach's segment?
There are times when you make the call and it doesn't work out, you're asking yourself, what was I thinking in that moment?
Sounded good for a while. Well, let's move on to our character goal segment for the Plainsmen football show. And Coach, I was going over my notes, and I think when we first met way back in August, that you shared with me of the character qualities that you were introducing your team into. They all spelt the word champion. That C was for courage and H was for honor, but if you spell the word champion out, then one of these character goals filled that. Is that, that's still in place today? Is that still your model?
But we're really using Tony Dungy's book Uncommon for the content.
Okay.
And so, there are some things that sometimes are not directly associated with one of those letters, but are associated with the champion theme as a whole. This particular week, we're talking about the idea of stewardship. And really, we have at least 3 weeks together. If we win these 3 games, we'll get a 4th week. And so we're fortunate that we still have our destiny and the outcome's still in our hand. We're going to have to win these next 3 weeks to do that. But the question is, how can we be good stewards of the time that we have together? Because even if we were to make it all the way to state championship game, we'd only have 7 weeks together, and then the seniors are done. And so as coaches, as players, and our relationships with one another, what does good stewardship of our time as teammates, as our time as players, as improving as a team, as improving as an individual, what does that look like when you're sitting where we are at 1-6 and obviously disappointed about where we're at? I've told the guys already that in my opinion, this week against Ike is really the character bowl. Both teams are disappointed at where they're at right now. Nike has not even won a game yet and has struggled. And so, to me, this week will really reveal the character of both teams. Will both teams still go out and compete well? Will both teams strive to improve and be the best that they can be? And will both teams put their best effort forward when they show up to play Friday night? And, hopefully, both schools will experience that. I truly expect that. I think we're going to get better as a team this week. I think our kids are going to play their best game Friday night. We're going to prepare that way. As coaches, we prepared the same way this weekend as we would if we were undefeated. And we're going to treat the kids that way as well. And I expect the kids to as well. And you know what? The kids that are our varsity starters, the kids that are making a difference are all coming to practice on time and working hard and Saturday and both this morning. And so I expect nothing from the best from the Plainsmen because that's what they've always shown me.
Coach, let me back up for just a moment. You were talking about Uncommon, Tony Dungy's book. Can you kind of talk us through the actual... You say you refer to a particular part in the book. Can you kind of just walk us through, if somebody's watching the show and say, well, that's all well and good, and he keeps talking about this book, but what are you actually doing with that book? Are you just reviewing a chapter, or are you taking a paragraph out of a particular chapter? What are you actually doing with Uncommon?
Each one of the chapters in Uncommon are really about a character quality.
Okay.
So, for example, the chapter we're going to do part of a chapter this week. It's about a third of it, and it talks about stewardship. The kids have to answer some questions about it in preparation, and then we actually meet as position groups and go through and talk about the content and really how it applies to us as individuals and as a team. It's an excellent book. I highly recommend it for anybody that wants to sit down and read it. And the chapters are neat in that they're self-contained. You can pick up the book at any point, pull out any chapter and read it, and they stand independent of one another.
Okay. Well, upcoming Friday is another trip down to Lawton to play Eisenhower, the Eagles. Eisenhower lost to Lawton High. You know, there's 3 schools in Lawton. The Wolverines beat the Eisenhower Eagles 43-7, as Coach talked about. That Lawton Ike is looking for a victory, so it will be a good game of excitement and anticipation on Friday.
You bet.
Is there any surprises about Lawton Ike that have really been different from the, not the Stillwaters, but the Sand Springs and the Tahlequahs and the Midwest City? Is there anything unique about Lawton Ike?
I think watching Lawton Ike on video, the one thing to me that strikes me is they're a team that has the potential to be a pretty good football team because they're pretty athletic. They have good athletes, which I think is typical of the Lawton schools. And they have athleticism at many different positions. And so I think probably the thing that would strike you is, okay, how is this team 0-6 or how is this team 0-7 at this point?
Right.
And why have they not won a game? Because they look like a team that's potentially dangerous. And I think we have to treat them that way. We by any stretch of the imagination aren't going in like we're 7-0 and have this one in the bag. I think they're a dangerous opponent. I think that if we don't play well, if we give the ball to them and don't do a good job tackling, they definitely can make us pay for those mistakes. And they're definitely the type of kids that could go 80 if you don't play good, sound, fundamental football. So it's a good opponent for us this week. And hopefully they don't wake up to their potential this week playing us, because they have tremendous potential as a team, in my opinion.
Well, the Plainsmen travel down to Southwest Oklahoma to play Lawton Ike this coming Friday. So wish you well, Coach. Before we close the show out, our student athlete for Inside the Huddle was Gavin Richmond. And you mentioned something just a few moments ago that we really didn't get to discuss out loud, if you will, was Gavin's dad is involved in your program somehow, or at least in the Enid community football program. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. Gavin's dad, Bruce, is the head 8th grade coach and really kind of my football middle school coordinator as far as organizing our middle school program, and just does some tremendous things with kids. He's liable to show up in a kid's classroom over at Waller who's struggling behaviorally or academically, just to know that they're being held accountable. This does a great job of teaching our kids what we want done on the varsity level as far as our offense and defense. They've done a good job of running that. Have had a lot of success this year. They're 6-1 right now. And so they're really good on the field as well as off the field, and his leadership is a big part of that, and is a big part of the outstanding young man that Gavin is too, that you saw today.
I appreciate you sharing that. And the success at the high school level begins back in the 2nd grade. I'm from Perry, Oklahoma, and it has such a wrestling tradition. And jokingly, we say, well, we started wrestling when we were 3 months old, and football programs. And you look at the programs across the state of Oklahoma. There's that, elementary level and grade school or middle school, and all those levels are all groomed by the time they get to high school. They're ready to go.
Sure are.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time. It seems like we're always doing this, but I've really enjoyed the visit. I appreciate you sharing your insightfulness. So good luck Friday night as you travel down to Lawton.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Plainsman Football 2015, and we look forward to sharing the insights of the upcoming game for you next week. And until that time, I'm Steve Keim. Make it a great day.
We'll see you next week with another insightful show with Enid Plainsman head football coach Steve Hayes.
Inside out. Give it to him. Buckner! Go! Hey. Touch! Come back! Here we go! Fire off! I'll drive it. He's gonna... There you go! There you go! Good job!
Thank you for watching Enid Plainsmen Football 2015.